Funding for Texas Monthly Talks is provided in part by Public Strategies Incorporated, managing campaigns for corporations around the clock, around the world. And J.P. Morgan Chase, the state's largest financial institution, serving large and small businesses, governments, schools, churches, and individual Texans just like you for more than 135 years. And the MFI Foundation, improving the quality of life within our community. And the Matson McHale Foundation, in support of public television. And also by the Alice Clayburgh Reynolds Foundation, proud to be a founding partner of Texas Monthly Talks. And by the law firm and public policy practice of Vincent & Elkins, LLP, providing legislative, regulatory, and public finance counsel for complex business challenges. Vincent & Elkins, online at velaw.com. And viewers like you, thank you.
I'm Evan Smith, the editor of Texas Monthly. If only he'd brought a one-armed man or a hissing mutant baby or Laura Dern to sit in the front row of our studio. If only he'd placed a severed ear right here on our set or breathed maniacally into an oxygen mask while we talked. If only the narrative arc of our half hour together had been incomprehensible, yet strangely compelling. Then, and only then, would I have felt at home in David Lynch's world. Of course, in a literal sense, very little could have prepared me for the experience of interviewing the four-time Academy Award-nominated director and screenwriter. This is one original individual. The 61-year-old had come to Austin to promote his newest movie and to sign copies of his just-published book on meditation. It was his first time in our fair city, and the fanboy film buffs with expensive glasses and no jobs who filled our audience one weekday afternoon in late January couldn't get enough of him, and for good reason. Rarely does a star of his magnitude come out to play. Born in Missoula, Montana, raised variously in the Pacific Northwest and Durham, North Carolina, Lynch attended art schools in Washington, D.C., Boston, and Philadelphia before making his first short film, Six Figures Getting Sick, in 1966. In the 40 years since, he has rarely put down his camera, producing a significant and distinct body of work that includes the big screen classics Eraserhead, The Elephant Man, Dune, Blue Velvet, and Mulholland Drive, and the TV series Twin Peaks. His latest feature, Inland Empire, is said to be about a girl in trouble. But if you remember who you're dealing with here, you won't be surprised to learn that Naomi Watts plays a talking rabbit. Like all of Lynch's films, this one is surreal and mind-expanding, which is also how I describe our wide-ranging conversation. See for yourself, and be sure to keep an eye on his hands. You can't make this stuff up, folks. A conversation with David Lynch on this edition of Texas Monthly Talks. Essentially do a version of that. This will be a fun night. Okay. You worked out? I got the call. It's on the one. It's on PBS. Lewis. And then I stopped my show to get back to it, but it's okay. David Lynch, welcome.
Good to see you.
Nice to have you here in Austin.
Good to see you, Evan.
How are you enjoying taking around Inland Empire? Has this been a good experience for you?
Yes. Not since Eraserhead have I met the theater goers and the theater owners, and set the levels of the sound and and all this. So I've really enjoyed it.
Now Eraserhead is almost 30 years ago, right? 78?
Yeah, 77 I finished it. I opened up in 78.
I'm guessing that theater goers and theaters are different than they were.
No, the same thing. A magical, magical thing. Always the same. I mean, the sound has gotten a lot better, and the picture's gotten better too. Right. But the experience of a shared experience, you know, as I always say, when the lights go down and the curtain opens, we get to go into another world, and it's very beautiful.
Well, one difference I think we can agree on is that the technology of filmmaking is different today than it was then. This film was shot digitally, right?
Right.
And it's your first film shot on digital video.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal really, but when you compare it to working in film and you go to digital, you see capital letters, freedom.
Right.
And even though film quality is so beautiful, you die the death going so slow, and it's sinking slowly into the La Brea tar pits.
So are you now in a situation where you won't go back?
I will never go back.
You're done.
Yeah, because it's too heavy and too slow, and so many times you're waiting, knowing that maybe you'll get the magic if you could go right now. You could go right now, but you can't go right now, and so it's a heartache. It's a heartache. It's a torment.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. I'm glad you're not tormented anymore.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about this movie particularly before we go back to talk about your career and other films that have been so interesting as well. Reviewers seem to pronounce this film both brilliant and a little baffling. Do you recognize your work in their reviews?
I don't read the reviews. I hear about them.
That's probably good.
And but I understand the baffling, and I understand, what was the other?
Well, brilliant. I'm sure you understand the brilliant part.
I appreciate that.
Right.
When you fall in love with an idea, then you're hooked. So I always say a story, but a story that holds abstractions. Right. And gets a thing that cinema can do, saying abstractions. So those things they're kind of like the same feeling we have when we have a powerful dream. It's very difficult to tell your friend that dream with words, right, so that they get the same experience. It's next door to impossible. But cinema can say these things that we feel, think, as we experience, and we have intuition, and we can get a thing there that's said with the language of cinema. So beautiful. Right. And we may not be able to say those things in words, but we know far more than we give ourselves credit for, because the experience is that you go out after a film and you have some coffee, or you have some red wine, and you begin to talk, and someone says something, you say, no, that's not the way I see it, like this, right, and all these things come out. So we know a lot of things, and we are like detectives, and we like to feel a thing and make sense of it and find a thing, just like in life.
And so the symbolism that one film goer or another one may take from your movies, this is okay with you. You don't mind if people interpret it one way or the other.
We're all that little bit different on the surface, mm-hmm, and interpretations, when things get abstract, vary, sometimes wildly. Right. But each one is valid. Each one is valid. That's what you got.
Right. Now, you say when you have an idea, it's so wonderful to see it realized, however abstract it may be on film. Where was the idea for this film? What's its origin? Where was it born? It was
born, as they say, on a street. I'm out on a street, and I see Laura Dern walking toward me. And she says, "Oh, hello, David." And I say, "Hello, Laura." And
okay, this is getting good.
Yeah. And she says, "I'm your new neighbor." I said, "Oh my golly, that's so fantastic." And she said, "We got to do something again sometime." And I said, "Yes, we do. Maybe I'll write something." And she said, "Really good." And then I went, and I guess just focusing on that encounter, a bunch of things started coming out. So Laura Dern started it. That meeting started it.
Right. Now, the basics of the plot are fairly conventional. Woman in trouble. Right?
A woman in trouble.
And that's been the basis for plots going back years and years.
Sure.
But it sort of spins off from there into an unconventional direction, or a series of directions.
It's a very, very conventional film.
You think so?
Yes.
Explain.
No, I won't explain.
You won't explain. Okay. All right.
There's two things. There's the story and the way the story is told.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be any good. Let's say you have a film, you could tell it, the whole thing, in 2 or 3 sentences. Somebody says, "Okay, I already saw the film.
I don't need to go see it."
Yeah. It's the way the story is told.
Well, let's just say, for the benefit of people who haven't seen it, it's not your usual woman in trouble story. How about that?
you could say that.
I just did.
Okay.
Now, I want to show a little love to the book that you have out as well, because your tour at the moment, you're taking around the film, but you're also taking around a book. You are a devotee of meditation.
Right.
And this book, Catching the Big Fish, is a book about your experience.
It's an experience of catching ideas,
right.
And the fact that meditation helps that process,
right.
And helps the process of doing anything. And people who heard this, hadn't heard this before, said, "Where has this been? I've been waiting all my life to hear something like this." Others, it goes in one ear and out the other. Always the same. But it's important that you at least know that there is this unbounded, infinite, eternal level, ocean within every human being, and that we can learn a technique and dive within and experience that. And experiencing it enlivens it, and we grow in consciousness. And this consciousness has qualities. Inner happiness comes with consciousness, bliss. Intelligence comes with it, creativity, love. And there's an ocean of it, and this ocean, though, is full, absolute vibrant consciousness, absolute bliss. Human beings have a potential, and it has names like enlightenment or fulfillment or liberation. You unfold that, and that is so beautiful. The light of unity comes, and negativity begins to recede. So it's so good for, you would start enjoying the doing more, and this subtle growth of that allows you to get things that you couldn't get before. And it's what separates like a mundane recording of a certain same notes from something that holds great magic. Same notes, but how it's played. This kind of stuff grows. And life just gets better and better. Becomes shiny with this consciousness, and get rid of this heavy, heavy load of negativity. Feeds every kind of process.
This is obviously something you know quite a bit about.
Well, I've been doing it for 33 years.
Yeah.
And I never talked about it, I just did it.
How'd you get interested in this?
Well, I heard about meditation,
Yep.
went in one ear and out the other. I thought it was a waste of time. Right. People sitting, doing seemingly nothing, their eyes closed. What a waste of time. I want to do stuff. I want to live the art life, and I want to get on with it. And then I heard this phrase, true happiness is not out there, true happiness lies within. And I think, well, that sounds like it might have some truth to it, but the phrase doesn't tell you where the within is, nor does it tell you how to get there.
Right.
So I started thinking about that, and one day I thought, maybe meditation is the way to go within. Oh. And so I started looking into it, and that's when my sister called, said she started Transcendental Meditation. She told me about it based on what I had heard and read. It sounded real good, but the thing that sold it was a change in her voice, a happiness more.
You could tell that it had an effect on her, yeah.
She's my sister. I hear this thing, and I say, that's what I want. Right. And so I went and got it.
Has it impacted your filmmaking?
Yes, it impacts everything. So many people don't enjoy the doing. Their eye is on the goal, either some money or some kind of thing, right. And the doing is so much drudgery. This, you light this up from inside and you start really enjoying the doing, no matter what it is. You could have a menial job, start catching ideas, and invent new ways of doing this thing. All kinds of possibilities come out. You start getting along better. Everybody starts looking better. You start falling,
well, that's good.
And then for women, you see a woman, she starts diving within, you meet her a year later, and you fall in love. And it's this thing coming from the inside. They say beauty is, only skin deep, but it's this stuff coming from the inside. Yeah. Money in the bank for us. Money in the bank.
Sounds like you've experienced this love a year later thing, perhaps yourself.
Yes, well, all it happens to all the women I see.
Okay, well. But why don't you come back a year from now and the audience will look better? How about that?
That sounds great. Sounds great. You wouldn't be sorry.
We referenced Eraserhead earlier as being almost 30 years ago. It's remarkable to me to think that this movie was as long ago as it was. Does it feel like that much time has passed to you?
No.
Yeah.
And yes. It's funny about time.
Yeah.
Time is funny.
Okay. Let that hang out there. Do you have very clear memories of the process of making that movie?
For sure.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful memories.
What do you remember?
What I loved about it was also what I hated about it. Because I kept running out of money, it took a long time to make Eraserhead.
Right.
But because it took a long time, many days I'd be in, the main character's name is Henry Spencer, I'd be in Henry Spencer's room. Or I'd be in another set, and because you could spend time there, I'd start imagining the whole world around it, hearing, you know, rain falling, and hearing factories, and imagining this world, a factory world that exists only, you know, now in imagining in the world of ideas. And it was very, very beautiful. So I enjoyed the experience of being in that world. And
even when you were not actually making the movie,
yes, I liked
it was a
living.
pleasant experience.
In fact, because I spent so much time there, the 70s I feel was a not so good a decade. I don't know why, my least favorite decade, but for what was happening out there.
Yeah.
But what was happening, you know, for me in there was very beautiful.
I'm thinking about you, though, as a struggling filmmaker trying to get this movie made, not having access to money. And again, I'm reminded of the differences between a young filmmaker's day who can use technology to paper over some of the not having any money problems.
Well, how do you paper over that?
Well, I think it probably cost more to make a movie earlier than it does now. Would you not agree?
No. I think, you know, when you don't have money to throw at a problem, you come up with other solutions. And even so you could solve problems with very little, but you need more time.
Which of the films that you've made have you walked away with the best experience?
I wouldn't say that. All good except for Dune.
Except for Dune.
Yeah. And the reason is I didn't have final cut on Dune.
Right.
I was somehow stupid enough to think that it would work without that, you know, guarantee, and it didn't. So it was a process of dying, and then I say I died twice because not only wasn't it the film I wanted to make, but at the box office it didn't do, you know, so good. So you died twice.
Is that that's an interesting point. I wouldn't think that commercial success necessarily would matter to you.
No, if you believe in what you do, if you really done it and you really believe in it and you're really, really happy, it feels correct, then what happens later really can't hurt you. And but if you haven't done that, and then you don't have a success, then you feel you deserve that failure, and it's very bad.
Well, you'd like people to watch your movie.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
In the end.
For sure.
Right. I was interested to be reminded that you've been nominated for an Oscar 4 times. Is that right? Three times as a director? Does that stuff matter to you?
It's part of, you know, in one way of thinking, the way that that awards was started was sort of great. It was, everybody was making films in LA, and they decided to get together and just celebrate themselves and give awards to themselves. And
like a lot of awards.
So it was a big, nice dinner, and everybody was dressed up, and they all kind of knew each other. And then, I guess, the nature of that just started becoming what it is today. Yeah. So it's still kind of fun and interesting, but if you didn't get them, it would still be okay.
Still be able to make your movie.
Yeah.
Hopefully. You mentioned Laura Dern earlier as the impetus, the conversation you had for this film. She's been in several of your movies. In fact, you seem to, we were discussing with the audience earlier, that you seem to use people repeatedly. Maybe more so than most directors.
If they're right for the part, you try to get the person, is another part of common sense, the right person for the role. Yeah. And if it's between two people, one you haven't worked with and one that you love, you've worked with before, you're more apt to take that person. And in the case of this last time with Laura Dern, like I told you, she sort of started it going. So it went like that.
But someone like Jack Nance, who I believe was in 7 things with you?
Yeah, I couldn't really, I love Jack and love to always find somehow it always came that there was something that Jack was just, you know, perfect for.
Was right for.
And but I loved him.
It wasn't a case of you writing a part for him necessarily.
No, no.
Or though it sometimes seems like with Grace Zabriskie, an actress that some people may know who you've used a lot, I think is now on the Bill Paxton, the series Big Love on HBO. She's become a fairly regular character actress, but I associate her with you. And she's not the sort of person that most of us would probably think to immediately cast, but you seem to have a good affinity with her.
Grace is one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, she's a great actress.
She can do it, and she's incredible. So if you get something for her, it's you know it's going to be something special.
Right. Let me ask you about film versus television. Twin Peaks obviously was a huge success. There are people who believe that the first season was more of a success than the second season, and Mulholland Drive was in fact initially developed as a television project, right? Do you feel good about TV generally, having the experience you've had? Talk about that. I know Mulholland Drive did not turn out the way.
Well, TV is, the good thing about it is the idea of a continuing story.
Right.
That's about the only good thing. And the bad thing is it's a runaway train. It needs to be fed all the time, all the time. And once you commit to that, unfortunately, it's so many other things have to go, and you're just committed, and it goes fast, and it has commercials, and it's not exactly an ideal situation. I think the internet and the cable, you know, things too, you know, give more opportunity now for continuing stories.
Well, in the case of Twin Peaks, for instance, you were obligated to, you know, have cliffhangers and sort of do all the stuff.
Well, you do that kind of thing. That's part of it. And a cliffhanger is just that thing that there's more, you know, mystery to come, and we all, you know, just love that. Going into the unknown, going into the unknown. Right. It's such a pull.
Right. What are you working on now? Speaking of things that continue, and what's your next thing?
I've got to finish the distribution of Inland Empire, and I'm going over to France to, you know, work on the film over there too. But I want to get home to catch more ideas for the next one.
So you have no film right now that you're in the midst of developing? You no, but you say that as if that's, you know, I would imagine you'd always want to be.
Sure, you would want to be.
Queued up for the next thing.
It's like a fisherman would like to have the net filled with fish.
Right.
But sometimes they're out there with the hook, and the net is empty.
Just not biting.
Yeah. And so you go fishing.
The trip you're taking to France, I know you also have an art exhibit, do you not?
I do.
At the Cartier?
Yes.
In Paris, that's going to be, and you, in fact, people may not know, but your earliest days, you were going to be an artist.
A painter. I wanted to be a painter.
Right. Yeah. That's obviously something you still enjoy doing.
I love it.
Right. How did the show come about?
The show came about, the director of the Foundation Cartier, I guess, had seen some things and came to my house, and one thing led to another. Pretty soon, all this stuff is coming out of storage. Right. It'll be a pretty big show.
The other thing I understand you have that has just gone online or is about to is the coffee business.
I drink a lot of coffee.
Really?
Yeah, and so someone I'm working with says, you know, you should have your own line of coffee. And so one thing led to another. Right. And so there it is, David Lynch Signature Cup Coffee.
Please tell me that you thought immediately and discarded immediately calling it damn good coffee.
It didn't even think about it. It was so bad an idea. But it is damn good coffee, and there's ideas in every bean.
Is that what it is? Boy, oh boy. I thought about another, well, I have to ask one more question, but that's a good place to end, actually, if we're out of time. Why do you do all this stuff? I mean, you know, the coffee and the art and the film, is it just, are you happy to be, or would you rather be more linear and do one thing?
No. we all have so many things in us, you know, that we could be, you know, doing and want to do, and we do.
Yeah.
And when that creativity starts flowing, it can go here some days, and this day you're going over to here to do this, you get an idea, you go over here and do that. It's just the way it is. We got so many ideas, and with the ideas comes so much enthusiasm, inspiration. Pop, there's an idea, and you're rolling.
A lot of places to park it.
Yeah, ideas drive the boat.
Okay, well, I'm going to end that there. David Lynch, thank you. It's nice to have you in Austin.
Thank you.
You're energizing all of us as you speak. So
thank you, pal.
Thanks very much.
Thanks,
you. All right.
Thank you very much.
Funding for Texas Monthly Talks is provided in part by Public Strategies Incorporated, managing campaigns for corporations around the clock, around the world, and J.P. Morgan Chase, the state's largest financial institution, serving large and small businesses, governments, schools, churches, and individual Texans just like you for more than 135 years, and the MFI Foundation, improving the quality of life within our community, and the Matson McHale Foundation, in support of public television, and also by the Alice Clayburgh Reynolds Foundation, proud to be a founding partner of Texas Monthly Talks, and by the law firm and public policy practice of Vincent & Elkins, LLP, providing legislative, regulatory, and public finance counsel for complex business challenges. Vincent & Elkins, online at velaw.com. And viewers like you, thank you.